This is how I'm going to paint this magnificent pansy with the purple and yellow. We'll look at how to preserve that beautiful yellow. So the view that I'm going to take is to have these yellow petals slightly on an angle. So I'm showing you that view because the rest of the time you're going to be seeing me painting like that. And it'll be facing down a little bit. So I'm thinking about the fact that this will be a card in the end, so I'm going to put the beautiful positive pansy over there and then a lovely soft background over on that side. So the first thing is to sketch it up, and I might make it quite large. So that's the top, and that's the bottom, and it's not as wide as it is tall. So, and oh yes, that's right, I thought I'd put it on an angle, I remember. So there's the top and there's the bottom, and I think that would be a bit more interesting. So the center where the stamen is a little lower than center, so it's down here, it's not up high there. And then we've got two petals that come out from the stamen area. I'm going to call it a stamen area because it's really hard to see the stamen in a pansy, and it comes out like that, and that one pretty much matches it, and then it goes out to there and out to there, and then this one sits on top and comes down to there, and that one is over to there, and that one's there. They're kind of like shells, the beautiful shape. They're a lot like a that shell that, I don't know the name of the shell, but they're a lot like shells. Okay, there I've got my, so that is longer than it is wide, and it could go a little wider. Okay, it's important at this stage to remove any excess graphite. It is purple, so it's not going to matter that much. I'm probably going to cover all of my pencil marks, so it's not that important to be removing them. Unlike on the white one, it was more important to remove them or be really, really light with your touch. All right, I'm going to paint the background second and paint the pansy itself first. Now, I mentioned that what you need to do in order to get this lovely yellow preserved, you need to get the yellow onto the petals. So I'm going to just wet where the yellow is, wet, 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 and it's on here. And there isn't any yellow on the others, but there's kind of a golden edge to it. So I'm going to put a bit of yellow up on those edges, even though it's really hard to see. And then I'm going to grab yellow and put it in first. There, and it's over there, and it's down here. Lots of it on this one. Down there, there, there. And of course that magic pure yellow strip there. So I'm going to make the yellow strip larger than it actually is. And there's a pale version there and a kind of pale whitish version there. And in the absolute center is a tiny bit of purple and a tiny bit of green. So I might add that in now. I've got yellow on my brush, a bit of green on my palette. The green was made from Hansa Yellow Light and Cobalt Blue. And I'm going to put in a tiny bit of green because I've remembered. And I'm going to let it touch those yellow bits, but not this yellow bit. Okay, I'm just going to finish off the yellow by softening all the edges. Soften, soften. But again, I'm leaving that one pure. Soften, soften. And soften off that one. Now, while I wait for that to dry, because we want to have our control, so I'm going to let that all dry. While we wait for that to dry, oh, I was going to put some yellow up there, I remember, because there's kind of this edge to it that kind of glows a little bit. It's really beautiful. and soften. So I know it's not there, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so now we're going to negatively paint. Now we're going to put in a background, which is technically negative painting. I'm going to be using the same colours, and I'm going to try and remember to splatter in some gold while it's lovely and wet. So we're waiting for the yellow to dry, and we're going to put in a background. So I've got this magnificent purple. I might mix up a touch more of that green. It was cobalt with Hansa Yellow Light. I've got purple, I've got green, and I've got that gold over there. Much bigger brush. I'm going to use a mop brush, in fact. Makes my job really fast because mops are designed to hold masses of paint. Go around the flower. And then I'm going to take my time and go quite close. And that way the paint will come right up to the edge for me. Doesn't matter that I touch that yellow, that it goes out into the background, doesn't matter at all. This is actually dirty water that I'm using. I haven't washed out my pots yet, but there was, I was using gold paint, this one on my palette. I'll just show you. I was using this leftover gold, and so all the little gold particles are in the water, and I thought, I wonder if that will give my background a little bit of a sparkle. I don't know as yet, we'll see. Okay, I've got some beautiful green. I'm kind of doing strokes that might be, oh, a bit of blue lump there. Kind of doing strokes that might suggest greenery. And then I'm going to come in with my purple. I'm kind of keeping them separate. I don't mind a little bit of mixing. I'm going to try and kind of keep the purple, get rid of that lump, towards the top. And then, while it's in this beautiful wet state, here's my gold. Just using up that lovely gold paint. And I'm going to splatter. I like the gold being splattered because you get these little subtle marks. And I don't mind if some goes on the pansy as well. The yellow isn't quite dry, but I love the gold being really subtle. Okay, get rid of that. Wash that off. Now, I'm just going to tip it. And again, because I haven't put water into the petal, I was going to say none of it is going to go into my flower, but there's a little connection there of water, and some of that purple is going in. I'm just going to give it a good bang on the table, kind of getting beautiful marks that are quite vertical. Now I know that the edges of these petals are going to be purple, so I'm going to come in with a bit more yellow and come right up to the edge. Right up to the edge. I'm trying not to be too kind of descriptive. I love the idea that your imagination will take you on some of the journey, but I want that yellow to be there so that it pops. Okay, a bit of yellow over here, I think. A bit of yellow splatter. That'll mix with that gold. And it really will knock the gold back. So I wonder if I need to reapply the gold, because I really am having trouble seeing the gold already. A bit more gold. I'm in love with the little gold splatter at the moment, so it's kind of appearing in everything. Oh, it's so pretty. All right, little more tipping. So if I hold it up, I'm just slowly allowing that paint to drip to the bottom, and it makes those little splatters get get an elongated look. I really, really like that. Okay. All right. I need that to dry and so that I can come back in with the purple. Okay, now it's all dry, so it's not going to run out, which by the way can look really beautiful if you want to experiment with that. I love that idea. But I wanted to make a video on positive painting, so let's stick to the plan. I might do this one first up there, so get a slightly smaller. So I'm going to use 2 of these size 00s. And I'm going to do this one first because that will lead me in nicely to the more important ones. So it's a purple and it's kind of a reddy, goldy purple on the edge, and I've already got my gold there. Oh, and I've just remembered it's slightly on an angle. So let's start by putting in some water. And bring it up. I think I'll go over the whole thing. Dump that one, grab the purple, and it's lighter here, so I'm going to put in the strokes of purple and bring them down in a stroke-like manner. I'm just making dots there, so that's not what I wanted at all, and that's why it's worth practicing on one. Okay, and then I'm going to, what I'm doing there is negative painting. I'm negatively painting that, but positively painting this one. Okay, and on that edge, I'm just going to colour in those. Colour in, that's a funny thing to say. Okay, I've got that beautiful edge with a little bit of a glow, so I'm going to leave that as is. That's nice. And I might get the little tiny brush and get some pure pigment with the tiniest bit of moisture and put in some darker strokes. Okay, they're at this level. And there's just a few of them. They go from the edge. Okay, it's too wet. I need to wait a second and come back in with that purple. Now this is darker than I wanted. So while it's in that beautiful wet state, I'm washing my brush, removing the excess, and let's remove. Again, it's too wet, but I don't mind at this stage because I'm still removing. I'm just going to remove bigger amounts. I want it to be lighter down here. And then we're going to give that a second to dry. So the other least important petal is this one over here. And I'm going to give it the same treatment. It's going to start with a little bit of moisture. I'm going to avoid touching that petal as I paint. A little bit of moisture. A little bit of purple. This one is actually darker over here. I'm leaving little tiny gaps so you can see it. There. And I'm leaving that section so that the paint will just creep over into that. And then I'm going to switch back to my tiny one every time it comes to the tiny detail. Hey, I forgot to paint in there. So I'm going to make this petal come right out to that space. And up, just drag that paint out. I want little strokes. So hopefully this one, now I went outside the edge, but I'll fix that later with a bit of negative painting. So let's see if I go back into my pure purple. It's purple with the tiniest bit of water, make it malleable. I'm going to go back into this one and see about the timing. Ah, that's better. That's what I want. There, 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 there. Just some little lovely subtle bits and into here too, as just letting the paint run out's a bit better. I'm going to allow that to go right out, and I might deal with that now because they're a bit heavy-handed. A little bit of water to just get rid of them. That's better. Okay, and now I'm going to do the more important ones. So a little bit of water to start so that I get some of the gentleness. Some of the purple does cover the yellow. There's a beautiful purple, dark purple in the center and lighter purple out here. So over this part of the yellow, I'm going to put a bit of water, come back in with that brush that's got kind of mid-tone purple. It's got a little bit of dark there. There's a big dark here that I'll come in a... No, I should do it now. And then darken it up later. It comes out like that. And it's quite obvious, those lines. They've got like almost hard edges, so that's kind of cool. And then over here, they've got all soft edges. I didn't put yellow there. I'm going to gently give it a little ruffle edge. And right, switch to the little tiny one and start to do some of that flicking inwards, because that's what it's full of, all that beautiful softness there. Flicky, flicky. That edge is dark, but I might wait till that's, what the hell, nah, that'll be all right. Put in that dark a bit, darken it again. It's got this little fold just there that I quite like. And the edge of it is quite dark, dark. And cover that yellow with a little bit of this purple, and hopefully I get a lovely dark edge. I'm just wiggling my brush to get a little bit of an edge to it there. Just use the side of my brush to get the tiniest bit of paint coming in. It's not overly pretty, which is a shame. So I'm going to get some thicker paint and just give these little marks more points. It's really hard not to lose the yellow. There's a bit of dark in there that I'm going to add while I've got my darker purple there. Oh, and so maybe some more darks up here. It's half dry, so that's quite cool to, and this has some darker ones as well. I am trying so hard to keep checking my subject matter, going in for the dark purple, to constantly check my subject matter, because that's where the answer is to stare at your subject. So hopefully you've got a photo in front of you. You might have gone to my Instagram page to see the photo I posted for tomorrow's YouTube Live. Oops, they're very bad marks. See, I wasn't staring at the flower. I'm going to get rid of those as quick as I can because they're wet. Okay, now keep moving around. The purple just went straight over that yellow. I wonder if I can soften that purple edge. That's a bit better. This is my most important, so I'm going to go to this one over here because that's the second least important. And I'm going to use the same method. I think that's working quite nicely. Wet over most of that yellow. Come in with my slightly bigger brush that has the bigger application of purple. And I might put the edge in and give it a little ruffle As I go along, ruffle, ruffle. Very easy to go into the yellow with that little ruffly edge and then come in. The problem with this brush is that I'm not getting a thin mark. I seem to be leaving little dots, and so I need to be switching faster to the little liner brush. The little liner brush is wonderful for detail, and I try only to use it at the end. I'm putting in that thick stuff in the middle. I try only to use it at the end because it can make kind of a fiddly painting. And one of the things that I love about watercolour is not to make a fiddly painting. I'm encroaching slowly on that yellow because it's not at all dominant up there. And I've got the purple. Now I'm going to turn it around to increase my chances of flicking easily. Flick out. Oh, that's better. Then I'm going to rotate this petal. So that is this one over here. Just to see, there's some darks. Wet it in the watery purple and load up with the dark purple. I mean, load, 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 and I'm wiping and wiping on the side of the palette so to get rid of all the excess. Okay, this one goes out there. There's quite a long one that goes out. There's a few dominant ones. Comes out. And this one comes out. Then there's a thin one that goes right out. It's quite integrate. It's like this magic progression from purple to yellow that I'm trying hard to capture. Okay, turn it back around. How's that looking? It's not too bad. I've left white there, and I don't mind that. I do mind that white, though. Go back to my watery purple and put in some darks there. Give it a waggly edge. Okay, just soften that edge over. Bring it over to the edge of the flower, which is good because I'm kind of leaving that little gold, yellow, allowing that to flick through. Oh, though that does remind me about the gold. Got this gold left over. I'm slowly using it up. I want to put it on the yellow that's here. Oh, I can't resist putting some in on this yellow and this yellow. Hopefully small enough amount that it's not overly noticeable. All right, now I'm ready for the final petal, which is the main petal. Super ruffly and water first. Just some dirty water and come down here. This is the darkest petal, so go into my mid-tone and butt it up against that yellow, really trying to use the point there. The little point just goes ever so delicately into the yellow, but it's not going to run because my yellow, I've allowed it to dry. Okay, this comes right out into there, goes right up. And this comes right up there. And then we've got this magnificent ruffle edge. It goes along here and in. Yeah, I'm having trouble flicking with that one. So flick in with the little tiny liner. Flick, flick, flick. And then quickly swap back to my purple, do a little more. Give it a little ruffly edge. Goes down. I'm just doing a little bit at a time so that I can flick it in with my little tiny liner. There's no paint on this liner. It's just I'm trying to go back and forth a little bit to get rid of the mark where the water ends. A little bit more. It's actually quite dark right there in the center. And it continues around. I reckon I can continue that up there, there. And again, back to the water brush, that's all it is. And allow that to go. I'm actually going back and forth rather than just flicking because I do want it to kind of join. Okay, how's it looking? It hasn't got near enough tone in here because the real petal has this drama going on. So we need pure violet. I'm going to go, while it's wet, doesn't matter, go back into here and feed that wet purple. This goes up this way. That's the dark as well. Goes up there. Oh, it goes over there too. More thick, lush purple goes over there. Just see if I can bring it in. It's got this magnificent ruffle edge and it's quite dark. And it actually does this undulating thing that I'm completely ignoring. I wanted to do an example of positive painting and negative painting, and so I'm just focusing in on those magnificent colours. I don't want to use those little purple strips that are poking through there. They're not on the flower, but I really like them. Beautiful. I'm just slowly darkening in there. Now I'm going to get a little dot of paint and paint around that little stamen that is so hard to see. And there's a white section that goes around there and paint it out. There's a white one here on that petal and paint it out. Make it a little smaller by bringing it in. And how are we going? This needs more tone, and I think I'm going to add more blue to it too. I'm going to change the purple a little, add more cobalt, and with that beautiful cobalt, start to add some slightly different purple, because there are a few purples there. And I'm adding them, and then I'm going to just softly soften the edge with a flick. So hopefully I get some different purples. I'm going to go right to the edge. Actually, I'm going to give the little ruffle edge. And having added some there, it definitely needs it somewhere else. So down here, I think we could add it to this edge. So you could see how I left little bits white, and they are so easy to cover later. Plus, by leaving the little bits white, you can see where your drawing was, because at a certain point you lose your drawing, especially if you're like me and you like to cover the pencil mark. Okay, that's good. It goes that way. That one, that one. I think it could do with a little dark stroke in there. And in fact, it could do with a little bit of darkness all along there. And then I'll come in with pure purple and add that into the darker shape. All right, how's that looking now? Yeah, it's all right. I think I wish I'd left some more of the yellow, because I think it was that yellow, the glowing yellow, that was magnificent. I'm going to tidy this up. It's got fantastic little marks all around it. This purple comes into here. So do I get rid of that lovely edge, or is it quite beautiful popping up like that? I don't know whether it's going to help or hinder. I do want to use more of this dark colour, so I might put in some down here. Put in some in those lines. And soften this edge. Soften, soften. Soften that inwards. Constantly doing the little flicky mark to enhance those beautiful stripes it has. And then I'm going to balance that off over here. And I can pick bits that I don't particularly like. And cover them. When you're looking at darks, it's a good idea to look around for something you don't like. So, for example, the pencil mark. Okay, now I've realized I don't like that white. It's going to get covered in purple, the violet, the original violet that I was using. I'm going to do strokes. Right, not wet enough. Maybe it'll have a bit of that cobalt in it. Stripes down here. And hopefully that just improves it rather than the opposite. Stripe, stripe, wet it off, and just with the dampest brush, just go to that edge. Yeah, I think that's a little better. Now it's got a green stem. I'll just turn it on its side so you can see. I totally broke it because I was painting, bending it to suit my purpose, but it's just a green stem and it comes out from not that center there. It goes back a bit. I'll show you. It goes backwards and then comes out. So if I'm holding my flower that way, it comes out like that. So I'm going to grab the slightly bigger brush. No, I'm not. That's a mistake. Green on the little tiny liner brush. I just like bigger brushes. And it comes over to that and down. I like it when the paint runs off. I'm just going to fix up that edge a tiny bit. Now, is there anything we need to fix up? I don't mind that ruffle. I don't mind that ruffle. Don't mind that ruffle. That's kind of cool. I think I'm going to add a little bit of colour to the stem. I was hoping it was wet enough for that to blend, but not so. So a little bit of damp water. That's hilarious. A little bit of water wiped off. Okay. Just gone outside where I meant to go. Hopefully no one notices that one. Right, I'm going to say it's done. Thank you for joining me, guys. I really appreciate it. See you next time. Bye.